Hello everyone! Today we will talk in English because we have a lot of people waiting for this video in other countries. So today I have a special guest that is my beloved husband Eduardo, that for sure was an engineer in other life. So he will do a step-by-step guide how to transform a freezer into an ice bath too. Stay tuned and enjoy!
Hi guys, my name is Eduardo Bastos, Sofia's husband, and as she explained beautifully in another video of our experience in Poland, we did that in January, and when we arrived in Portugal we were so enthusiastic about the method that we wanted to have the same experience or close to the same experience at home. As some of you might know, the water temperature, cold water temperature in Portugal is around 16 degrees Celsius. I was mentioning Fahrenheit, but it's 16 degrees Celsius. It's not that cold. We wanted to get around 1 degree Celsius to get the same experience. And some guys there in Poland, they were so engineers themselves that they explained us how some of them had a chest freezer, bought a chest freezer and made some changes to get the same result to the cold water. So I'm here today speaking in English to you because there's a whole lot of you. It's a big community, and we think in English we get to you more. So I'm here today to explain a bit of my engineering myself. You have some remarks doing that, please feel free. Myself, I had some help of an US specialist, as I might say that. John Richter from the US. He helped me a lot to do this kind of modification to the chest freezer. I'm going to explain some of my positive changes, not so positive, and you might adapt to your scenario if you want. So I'm going to show you now my chest freezer, and in this topic I made a little bit of a mistake because my height is not like this. I'm tall, so I didn't buy a freezer for my size. But actually, I'm a little bit like this inside. Down the line, I'm going to buy a bigger one. For Sofia, it's fine, but for me, it should be bigger. So this is a 250 liters tank. You should buy, if you're tall like me, you should buy 400 to 500 liter capacity tank for water. So I think it should be fine, but I was a little bit worried about the space, but actually I had space to buy a 400 minimum capacity tank. So this is the chest freezer. So this is the question is, because this kind of stuff isn't made for the purpose that we want, or the purpose you want, because if this is working all the time, the temperature for the regular temperature here to attain is minus 18 degrees Celsius. So a week later, as you plug it in, it's going to be a rock of ice inside. So with some research on that topic, I found a temperature regulator. That is, the freezer is plugged into that regulator that I place the temperature that I want, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want, and that shuts down the freezer or enables the freezer to work to be on that level of temperature that you want. So I'm going to show that in a second. Afterwards, I'm going to open this. Afterwards, so here's the freezer with the water inside. The lining, the lining, it's not made for water. So there's a potential huge problem with this kind of modification, because as this is not appropriate for this kind of modification, all chest freezers are not leak-proof, leak-free. So you have in all kinds of freezers some seams. So this is aluminium, and this is a joint. So the material comes here, and here there's an interface. And it's very important to place a sealing material on these seams to prevent the leakage of water inside, to not to damage the freezer. So I'm going to show you the material now I used. It's for plumbing purposes. So it's a tube that you have to mix. It's a dual component. It hardens in a very short amount of time, so you have to be quick to use this. You have to buy, depending on the size of the freezer, you have to buy several. I think from my memory, I used around six for this setup. So you have to mix and apply around all the seams, and so there's a hole there that it's screwed. So there's a screw cover on top of it. You have to take it out and push the material inside, and then screw the cover again. And then, as you can see, there's on top of it, of the cover, there's extra material to cover it. So you have to make sure that you seal all the seams. Very important. Make sure you wait 24 hours to place water inside of it. So after you have all the seams sealed, the water inside, you should also have this kind of protection. So before you plug it in the chest freezer, make sure that all devices that you have, filtration, etc., I'm going to explain later, you have all devices plug it in to these protection. So this is a surge protection device. And this is a short circuit protection device, very important, because when you're not around, or when you're around, you have, and the devices fail, whatever. So please make sure they have all the devices connected to this. Very important, before you get in the water, before you get into the water, disconnect all the systems, just to make sure. So, chest freezer check, security check. Regarding the water, when you fill, please make sure that you count with your body volume. So for me, this is right about right. So when I get in, the water rises to this level. So count on that for your exact situation. I forgot before, you should seal with silicone or whatever material you want this seams here. I forgot to mention that. One additional information, but very important because it's for security reasons. The chest freezer wasn't built for the kind of purposes that we're using it into. And before you get all the water inside and yourself inside, please make sure that the floor of the freezer has a support underneath, because it's a lot of weight with the water and yourself. Because as you might get the freezer in your home, the freezer is usually supported in 4 points on the floor, so it's hovering a little bit. So please make sure they have like a wooden thing or a wooden frame beneath it, or a metal frame, whatever you want. It's very important just to make sure that nothing happens to the freezer and yourself. This is the device that I mentioned before. This is a temperature regulator for Fahrenheit or Celsius degrees. So this is the set temperature. So in this case, I want 0 degrees. Now it's 1.9 degrees, and the chest freezer is now working to cool down the water. When it reaches 0.0 or 0.3, it stops. again, and when it increases, it turns on again and maintains that temperature steady through time. So besides temperature, there are two things that are very important for the water treatment. If you want to maintain the water quite a long time and not to change it every week, you have to first filtrate the water with a filtration device I'm going to show you later, and sanitation. That's very important because there are algae that develops with the water. There are bacteria, virus, etc. that proliferate. So in my first incursion with the sanitation was with this pool treatment. It's a chlorine-based treatment. I found out that two things. The aluminum liner inside is not really compatible with chlorine. And the second thing I hated was the smell of chlorine, and it was really difficult for me to get the required levels of chlorine. I even bought this machine with some sticks to check the water quality, but I wasn't achieving the right kind of balance with the water. The water got cloudy. I didn't like it, so I changed the water and changed the system. I'm going to show you first the filtration and then the sanitation device that I'm currently using. So let's get into it. Regarding the filtration, I even bought a small device. So it's this. It's a 700 liter per hour capacity of filtration, but I actually decided to buy a bigger one. This is the blue one. It has a hose attached to it. It has a kind of spongy thing inside to filter. You have to clean it every week or 2 weeks, it depends on the use. And what's special about this device, it's that it has a UV light inside. So as it filters the water gets through a special place there and has a UV treatment with UV light, UVC light that gets into the water and kills all the germs, bacteria, whatever. And this is what I use to filter the water. Any large debris that gets into the water gets through the machine and cleans beautifully. The one thing you have to get in mind is you have to have double capacity. So if you have 400 liter capacity of the tank, you should have a device that filters 800 it debits 800 liters of water per hour. Very important. Additionally, you should, if you want, it should run 24/7. Before getting to the sanitation, just a tip. You see here this kind of cabling. This is very thin. This is not very thin. So I made an adaptation. I saw it with Mr. John Richter in the US. So it's his idea. So you make a hole here. And then the cable is able to get through without any problem and not getting the lid not to close. So I made here a mistake. I didn't see any kind of electric. I was not aware of this cabling here. So I hit it, the cabling. So please make sure that when you do this, you get far away from the cabling, maybe here or what. Please make sure on the extremities. It should be fine, but please make sure that there's nothing on the way. The last topic I'm covering today is the water sanitation. I don't use chlorine anymore, so what I use is a combination of hydrogen peroxide, food grade, 35%. And a combination with Ozone. It's a machine, that's aquarium grade machine that produces ozone, that has an air pump connected to it to push the ozone into the water. Additionally, in between these systems, I connected the air pump to these beads. These beads remove the humidity of the air to improve the efficiency of the ozone. This is really not required. This third machine here, this monitors the oxidation potential of the water. This is not very important, but if you want to make sure that everything's perfect, there's some probe inside the water that measures in millivolts the oxidation potential of the water. So this is my setup. I place all the machines in this board. So what I do here is, it sits there. So I have this cable here that's inserted through the chest freezer. This is from the mistake I made, but it's working now. So this is the cable injects the ozone into the water. One other thing about the ozone, it's noxious to the lungs, to the respiratory system. You should have always some air circulation and use it when there's not people around or everybody's asleep or something like that. 45 minutes to an hour. If you feel, when you wake up, if you feel some kind of odor in the air, it's a signal that you're putting too much ozone, or the machine it's working too long. So please make adjustments as necessary. You shouldn't breathe ozone because it's not good for you. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, anything, please feel free to post your ideas, questions, whatever you want. Thank you for your attention.